And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come to talk to you today about a problem that's of great concern of me, and I know to all of you. And I know that it's one that many of you are seeing and hearing about every day in your communities, and that is the epidemic of childhood obesity in America today. As you know, over this last year, my first year in the White House, I've been thinking, reading, and speaking a lot about this issue, but the statistics still never fail to take my breath away. Mayor Couts pointed out right now nearly 1/3 of children in America are overweight or obese. That's 1 in 3 children. And 1/3 of all children today will eventually suffer from diabetes. And in the African American and Latino communities, that number goes up to almost half. So it's not surprising that a study published just this month found that obesity could now be an even greater threat to America's health than smoking. In fact, medical experts are predicting that this generation is on track to have a shorter lifespan than their parents. Obesity is also one of the biggest threats to the American economy. If we continue on our current path, in just 10 years, nearly 50% of all Americans will be obese. Not just overweight, they will be obese. So now let's just think about how much we'll be spending on health care to treat obesity-related conditions like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Think about all the missed days of work and decreased productivity that we're going to see as a result. And think about what this means for our overall quality of life, for how people are going to feel when they wake up in the morning, whether they can make it through a day of work, whether they can do something as simple as walk to the store or play ball with their kids and their grandkids. And this isn't some far-off future problem that we're dealing with. Many of you are already seeing some of the costs and consequences in the cities and the towns that you lead. You see how kids in your schools are struggling, some of them sitting on the sidelines, unable to keep up with their classmates, visiting the school nurse with weight-related health problems. You see it in your clinics, in your emergency rooms, and waiting rooms overflowing with folks suffering from preventable obesity-related problems, from asthma to high blood pressure to diabetes. One mayor told us that obesity can even impact economic development and job creations because CEOs and entrepreneurs worried about high employee health care costs are sometimes reluctant to set up shop in areas with high obesity rates. And none of us wants this kind of future for our kids or for our country. And I know that there are a lot of parents out there that are worried about this issue right now. They desperately want to do what's right. They desperately want to make responsible, healthy decisions for their kids, but too often the realities of modern life make it feel like the deck is stacked against them. Many parents tell me that they want to prepare healthy food for their kids, but there aren't any supermarkets where they can find fresh produce in their area. Or they tell me that they're tight on money and healthy foods seem too expensive. Or they're tight on time, working long hours, 2-3 jobs, so they can't pull off those home-cooked meals around the dinner table that we so long to have. They tell me they want their kids to be physically active, but some of their schools have cut gym classes and recess, and they've seen cuts to sports and after-school recreation programs in their communities too. And the days of those tight-knit neighborhoods where you could send kids out to play and tell them don't come back until dinner. Remember those? Well, for many folks, those days are long gone. Those communities don't exist. So many kids wind up spending their afternoons sitting in front of the TV or playing video games. In fact, a study released today by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that the average young person in America spends more than 7.5 hours a day using some kind of media device. And sometimes parents, they just don't have the information they need to make decisions that they feel good about. They're inundated with news reports filled with conflicting information and with food labels filled with ingredients that they can't even pronounce. let alone know whether those ingredients are healthy. So really, with all the changes that we've seen in our society, families having less time together, kids having fewer opportunities to be physically active, the rise of fast food, it's no wonder that childhood obesity has tripled over the past 30 years. And believe me, I know how stressful it can be for parents to contend with these forces. Now, my current life, I am incredibly blessed with more help and support than I could ever have imagined. But I didn't always live in the White House. And it wasn't that long ago that I was juggling a full-time job with the round-the-clock role of being a mom. And there were plenty of times when, after a long day at work and the fridge was empty and the kids were hungry, that ordering a pizza was the easiest thing, or getting through the drive-thru and getting a burger because it was cheap and quick. And I wasn't always aware of how the calories and fat in some of the processed foods I was buying were adding up. And it got to the point to where a pediatrician had to tap me on the shoulder and say, you know, you might want to consider making some changes in your family's diet.